People just love to romanticize international relationships. Different cultures, different backgrounds, different traditions. It's all very exciting. And to be fair, a lot of it is, until you realize you're trying to build a relationship with someone who's got a completely different operating system to you. Now, see, I've been dating a British lady for long enough to have just a few opinions on the subject. My name is Russ. I'm an American and I've been living here in the UK for the last year and a half. So without further ado, here's what nobody warns you about when dating a British person. Now, one of the more obvious things that deserves attention right off the bat is something that I underestimated to a serious degree, and that is accents. When I first got here, I thought that if I could at least adjust to my girlfriend's accent, I'd be fine. Not even close. Because getting used to one accent does not prepare you for the rest of them. Lottie is from the north of England, and just in England alone, there are a whole slew of different accents. I mean, she alone has friends from all over the UK that I've personally met, and some of them I understood perfectly clearly first go, and others I could not understand for the life of me, even though they were still speaking English. Because getting used to one accent does not prepare you for the rest of them. And every time I thought I had cracked it, I'd meet someone from somewhere else and I'd be right back to asking them to repeat themselves. One of the best things about the UK, despite how small it is, at least compared to America, is how much it changes from one place to the next. You don't have to travel very far at all before people start to sound completely different. Different accents, different expressions, different idioms, and sometimes even different names for the same thing. Coming from the US, that was definitely a bit of a shock. America is enormous, but for the most part, people sound pretty similar no matter where you go. But here, you could be on the train for less than an hour, and all of a sudden people start sounding like they're from a different country. And oftentimes, they are from a different country. There are 4 of them that make up the United Kingdom, but not a lot of Americans know that. But I genuinely love that about the UK. It really does keep you on your toes. It's both a blessing and a challenge to live in London because I certainly get a lot of exposure to different accents and still constantly confused all the time. But little by little, with all the variations that I hear these days, I'm starting to sort of understand many more than I would be if I was living in an isolated part of the country instead. But that said, a lot of the time, I barely notice an accent at all, especially for my girlfriend. But I'll tell you, the one time I'm reminded is when I ring up a company or end up talking to someone from a different part of the country. Because every so often I'll get halfway through a phone call and realize I'm only hanging on to every third word. I'm looking at you, Scousers. But somewhere along the way, the accents of the UK sort of stopped being accents to me and just normal everyday voices. I don't hear my partner's accent anymore. I don't hear her family's accent anymore. My friends don't hear their accents. And I don't think twice about people that I chat to in the pub or at the supermarket. But something that's strange is that my voice hasn't stayed the same either. I haven't suddenly become British or anything, but the rhythm of how I speak has certainly changed. Certain words just come out differently, and the way that I stress sentences changed without me even trying or noticing. If you watch some of my older videos, you can definitely notice I still sound pretty American and pretty similar to how I always have, but my choice of words and the way that I sound, especially my volume, has most certainly changed. When I hear it, I hear a completely different voice. But the funniest part about accents is that it's not just me getting rubbed off on. My girlfriend has started saying words the way I say them, or using certain terms that are not common where she's from. And hey, listen, I can't really deny any involvement in that. We spend enough years listening to each other every day, and I suppose bits of each other's voices start to stick. Let's talk about English, the language English. My girlfriend Lottie and I, we both speak English, or so I thought. Living in Britain has taught me that speaking the same language means absolutely nothing. Before I moved here, I just assumed that I would understand everybody straight away. Worst case, I'd have to learn a few new words. But I could not have been more wrong. It was never the obvious ones that would catch me off guard with her. I already knew what trousers were. I knew what rubbish was. But who's going to tell me that a washcloth is called a flannel? Or what she meant the first time she told me she wanted me to hoover the stairs. What's hoovering? What is that? We would just be chatting away. Everything's fine. And then she'd just drop a line like it's the most normal thing in the world. And I'd just be standing there thinking, I've got no clue what you just said. To be honest, that still happens to me now. I remember the first time she told me that someone at work threw a wobble, and I'm like, are you winding me up? What is throwing a wobble? That's how the British say having a tantrum. No one told me that before I came here. How could I have ever known that? The words are only half of it, though. The bigger adjustment is learning how the British actually communicate. See, back home, if somebody is annoyed, usually you know that they're annoyed. And on the contrary, if they like something, they'll just tell you that they like it. There is no decoding involved. But what I found here is that people leave half of the message unsaid. You'll hear a phrase like, could be better, when what they actually mean is, that was a total disaster. That's a bit awkward. Can mean that someone is absolutely furious. Everywhere seems to exist somewhere between the lines, and you're expected to figure out where. It took me ages to stop listening to the words that people were saying and start training myself to listen to what they actually meant. But once you get the hang of it, it makes perfect sense. Until the next phrase comes along that you've never heard before, and then you're back to square one. See, English in America is very much say what you mean, whereas if you do that here in the UK, it feels like you'll get in trouble. This goes far beyond dating relationships as well. You'll find it in the professional world, you'll find it with your family, with your friend groups. People really try to de-emphasize really positive things that they're saying and really try to soften the blow on negative things. It's almost like they're trying to see how well they can convey a message without expressing any emotion about it. They just want to seem as tempered, cool-headed, and calm no matter what it is, and not step on anybody's toes or rile anybody up or offend anybody. As an American, that just takes so much getting used to. Something I've also found a bit interesting that I'm definitely not the first person to discover about the British when it comes to relationships is that they will refer to their significant other, their person, as their partner. Now, we do have that in America, but usually in America, from my own experience, you'll see people refer to their partner as their boyfriend or their girlfriend, or their wife, or their husband, or their fiance. Partner is almost sort of reserved for relationships that don't fit traditional styles. Like if you don't have any other word for your person, you use partner. Whereas here, everybody uses partner, at least the parts of the UK that I've been to and I've lived in. Let's talk about the British sense of humor. My partner's sense of humor is something that I have loved about her from the day I first met her. I think that she's just a uniquely, genuinely funny person. Funny looking. She's going to kill me for leaving that in the video. No, but seriously, she's great. She's funny. What I'm talking about is the British sense of humor that she also comes built in with. Now, it's not like there's just one British sense of humor. British people tend to joke about things in ways that, you know, Americans certainly don't, at least not me. There's a very clear deadpan sort of nature when it comes to British humor. Lots of sarcasm involved, lots of banter, lots of name calling, really just self-deprecating stuff. And it's all said normally, like in a normal tone, like deadpan. So much so that at the beginning of the relationship I have with my British girlfriend, I oftentimes wouldn't be sure if she was being serious or not. Even to this day, she buffers half of the jokes that she says to me with, "This is a joke," or "That's a joke." Bless her heart. But I'm telling you, it's a real thing. Americans do joke that way. Just here, it's a bit more intense feeling, I think. I've often been confused about the way that British people will joke with each other, have banter with each other, because it just sounds so mean sometimes. But something I've come to learn and appreciate, especially with my British girlfriend, is that the more that someone will throw sarcasm, banter, and name calling at you, the friendlier they feel towards you. I learned that British people do this because that means they like you. They feel comfortable with you, at least enough to call you ridiculous names or to throw some banter your way and stir up some, how would you say, whimsy? Fun? You know? I mean, seriously, at first I would be reading my comments on my social media from British people and be like, oh God, what have I done to upset them? But my girlfriend would just be scrolling through them, laughing, mind you, saying, wow, they really like you. And I'd be saying, how? They just called me a She simply told me that if they were being nice to you, that would mean that they don't like you. It's kind of backwards. And like a lot of things involved with moving from America to the UK, it took some getting used to. I quite like it now, though. When somebody calls me a I actually find it quite endearing, but only now because I actually understand it. So have at it in the comments. I'm ready. Another thing that's been tough to me is I constantly sound like I live underneath a rock. What I mean is that my girlfriend will make references pretty much every day to something in pop culture, whether it be song lyrics or a line from a famous TV show to literally just British memes or something. I mean, who the hell is Ronnie Pickering? Does anybody actually know? I don't. Why would I look that up? But it does go both ways. I mean, Lottie doesn't always know a whole lot about American pop culture, but the thing about American pop culture is pretty much everybody around the world knows at least a little something about it. So she has a leg up on me in that regard. I also don't know niche historical things about this place. Like, there wasn't a class in the American school that I went to that was just the history of England and all of the little nuanced things and people and everything involved with that. Now, granted, we did learn a lot about England. That is sort of where America came from. But I'm talking really small nuanced things, you know, little references, names of politicians in recent years, stuff like that. These are things that I just am not aware of. I don't know. I'm like a child here having to learn from the ground up. And I'm sure I will with time, but you know, that doesn't make it any less of a challenge for me today. I think that learning about and appreciating British heritage is something that should be very important to you if you are going to move to the UK. Even if it's the last thing you're interested in before you move here, or you're only originally here for a girl, like I am, I think it's important to show some interest in how the country that you're moving to came to be and what its traditions are and the things in its culture that are valued. I don't know. I just think as an immigrant, it's important for your sort of like full conversion into a denizen of the UK that you at least have a little bit of interest and ambition in learning about it. That said, whoever came up with the concept of the Sunday roast, I'd love to shake your hand. Something that I think goes super underrated when it comes to immigrants, expats to the UK is, where is your third space? For those of you who might not know, the term third space is used to refer to a place that you can go to and thrive socially that is not home or work. And something that took some getting used to in my British relationship is that a third space is often a pub. Now, where I'm from, we had some bars around here and there, bit sparse, but it's not really a place that a whole lot of people would socialize in. Pub culture here is an absolute building block of this country when it comes to third spaces anyway. In America, you go to a bar to drink and watch sports, okay? But here, it's also a place where you socialize. I mean, genuinely socialize. People go on dates to pubs. People meet up with their buddies after work at the pub. People hang out with their partners at the pub, me included. And that's just not something I would have ever done in America. Meeting up and hanging out at a bar, which is the equivalent of a pub in America, and meeting up and hanging out at a pub here in the UK, two completely different things, two very different vibes. So at first it was weird to go to a pub to meet some of Lottie's friends for the first time and get to know them. Or an early date that we went on was at a pub. That was weird to me. But now I freaking love going to the pub. And it's not just for drinking, because you don't have to drink at a pub. If you want, you can get a non-alcoholic beverage or just no beverage at all. And you're just there to enjoy the vibes. Like, it's totally chill. And the thing that I love about pubs is that they seem to have sort of evaded the whole chain system. I mean, there's Weatherspoons and Green King, but for the most part, pubs in the UK have their own personality, their own culture and history. Hell, some pubs in the UK are hundreds of years older than America, the country I'm from. So as an expat, having a third space that is as nice as my local neighborhood pub to go on a date with Lottie at or meet up with some friends at, it's really, really nice. Like, really nice. Big fan of pubs, especially if there's a quiz going on. Something that's definitely worth mentioning, at least somewhere in this video, is manners. Now, this topic is actually super interesting to me because British people are known for having manners, which sounds like a crazy thing to say, but it's true. There's definitely an emphasis on proper form and etiquette when it comes to the treatment of others here. It's really looked down upon to not have manners and display proper treatment of people just in general, even if you're frustrated with them or really upset with them. British people are very, very good at keeping their cool, keeping their temper, and even if they might be perturbed, having manners. But the thing that's harder to see is that underneath the surface, there's a lot of habits that British people have that are considered manners that someone who's new to living in the country might not have. So if they don't display them or do those things, they're seen as not having proper manners. The easiest example of this is simply using the word please and thank you. A phrase you'll hear in the UK just all the time is manners cost nothing, meaning it really doesn't cost you anything to simply say the words please and thank you. You simply have to say it. You have to say please and thank you. You don't have to mean it, but it's all part of keeping that social exchange friendly and peaceful and not making your problems or your feelings anybody else's problem. That's good manners. Believe it or not, where I'm from, manners are sort of implied already. Like you don't actually need to say them in every context. In certain contexts in America, saying please actually comes off as passive aggressive. Same goes with saying thank you. That could create some social friction depending on when you're saying it. Now, I'm not saying that manners don't exist in the US, especially if you go down south and you're being given some hospitality. Boy, oh boy, you better be saying your please and thank yous. They expect it. In fact, the whole country expects it. The difference I find is that it's very nuanced, whereas here, please and thank yous sort of no matter what belong in every situation. And don't even get me started on apologizing. I think that apologizing falls under this category as well. The British will apologize for things that they had nothing to do with, things that weren't their fault, things that they're not being blamed for. They'll apologize for it anyway. Someone bumps into you on the sidewalk, you end up apologizing here. How does that happen? You want to get someone's attention here in the UK? Tap them on the shoulder, go, sorry. Some horrible tragedy happens in your friend's life. What's the first thing you say? I'm sorry. Why? You didn't do anything. The British are very polite to a fault. It seems here in the UK, it's more of a formality, but it comes from a place of courtesy, and everybody should be like that to each other. Really love that about the UK. And in my relationship with a British lady, that is something, of course, I caught on to very quickly. It's just a fantastic trait. Everybody should be like that. Having the privilege of living in a country that's foreign to me is just awesome. I cannot tell you how valuable it is to spend time somewhere that you're not from just to gain a new perspective on how life is lived somewhere that you've never been to. Or maybe you have been, but just as a tourist. I mean, like really live there and learn about the people. And being in a relationship with a British person, it really does go both ways because she and the people she's connected to learn all about the way that, say, I do things or the way I say things. It's not just a one-way street, even though I'm the one that's doing the moving. But something that's also exciting too is learning that we're not all that different, even though an ocean divides us. A lot of the things that Americans and British people like are the same. A lot of the ways that we are the same. But I love that learning the differences doesn't mean we're divided. It just means we're different. That's the entire basis of my relationship with Lottie. We're actually more compatible with each other because of our differences. And we're stronger for it too. I mean, it's a great quality to have a partner who's willing to learn all about you and accommodate. But hey, this isn't a dating channel, okay? I'm not here to give you advice. Or maybe I will one day when I inevitably start a podcast or something. Would you guys listen to that? Be honest. And also thank you to all of the people who comment nice things about my sweet Lottie in the videos that she chooses to be in here on my channel. This channel is really mainly about me, not her, but she is a very key part of my story. In fact, this channel wouldn't exist without her. And she reads my comments, so whenever you guys have something nice to say, it's always appreciated. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. And if you really want to help me out, please subscribe to the channel. That is the best way that you can support what I do. And if you're still here for me blabbering, don't forget to hype the video. That is a feature that you can find down near the comments section with a little shooting star icon. And if you need something else to watch, go check out this video where I talk about why I could not go back to America if I tried. Being British is fun, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.